There you go.
Thank you.
Let me spotlight you.
No.
Just in case there's like a thing on the screen.
There.
You changed something.
Okay, see, we're getting there.
What did you do?
What did you know?
What did I do wrong with it?
That's it.
Let's recognize.
See, I hear screen is big. Your screen has to be a little small.
Okay, no.
You took me out? Is that what happened?
Took us.
That's how.
No.
Now it's calculated properly.
I'm actually confused. It's never happened.
Wait. There. Now.
Oh, show something. There it is. Oh, yeah. There you go. She's good. She ready.
Are we ready to go? We ready? Okay. I wanted to just do some housekeeping rules on your template. I'm noticing that a lot of us are using our old templates, and you have old forms. So since December, a lot of new changes has been happening. A lot of new forms. Even if you have the form, but one line has changed, that changes the whole dynamic of how your listing or a buyer's presentation will go. So I am advising to please clean up your templates because right now it's been very sensitive ever since with the NAR settlement. We've been seeing more things coming up, and so today I wanted to give you guys an update with the FinCEN. I know that escrow recently gave you guys a class explaining the scenario about that, but guess what? There was a lawsuit happened, and they put it into a halt. So I'll get to that in a second. But I just wanted to kind of remind you guys, templates are great, but please keep up to date of the new forms because you can be missing out, and one line can change the whole trajectory of that transaction. Okay. Any questions before we get started? Zoom, any questions? Okay. So let me start with this lovely form that it is, however, incorporated in your RPA. Here we go. It's your FRRPA. This form is your Federal Reporting Requirement Purchase Addendum. This one, it was introduced December 1st of last year. However, it came into effect as of March 1st. This form, if you're not familiar with it already, this form is what it's used to report and avoid any money laundering. And the reporting comes to effect on any entities that are not FDIC approved. That means cash, hard money, and any other ways of monetary, or sellers also seller financing and trusts. Any of those entities that are not FDIC approved, they will be reported. Escrow will be requesting that information. And there is a whole process of 150 questions? About 150 questions per escrow that they have to fill out, be very specific and very detailed information. Now, the pushback is that as of the 19th of March, there was a federal ruling with the federal courts in Texas that paused this transition. Most likely is because somebody sued. So just stand by on that. Let your clients know, your buyers know that there is a pause. However, there is still some escrow companies. The portal, by the way, is still open. Escrow may or may not still report it. Because if you don't report it, there is a fine about $200,000. Is escrow saying 200 or you? Yeah. Yeah, so it's about 200 to 250,000 penalty for escrow if they do not report accordingly. However, sorry? 250 what? Million?
She said there was a $1 million penalty.
there's just 250,000 penalty. Regardless, it's up there. There's a giant penalty for escrow if they don't report it. Now, I do advise, excuse me, I do advise you guys to present this to your sellers as well. Even though this form is only in your RPA, you got to let your buyers know, hey, buyer, if you have cash or a non-conventional loan, if you have a uninsured, rather, type of financing, you have to report this. That's great. You should talk to your buyers about that. It should be part of your buyer representation when you guys do your buyer consultations. Yes. Now, however, this also triggers sellers. The sellers are also being they also have to report. Why? Because if I'm selling, let's say Clara is selling a piece of land that's only worth 200,000, but Ron says, "Hey, buddy, I'm gonna give you 200,000 for it." So she could be in a conflict, a potential. That's just allegedly, right? It could look like that she's helping him laundry. So now sellers also are being investigated. Sellers also have to report. However, this document is not, this disclosure or addendum rather, is not in your seller's package. It's not part of the listing agreement. However, I do advise you to explain this to them. Because if once they're in escrow, they're going to say, wait a minute, why do I have to report if I'm not the one who's financing? This would be a nice instrument for you guys to put it in your listing presentations to explain to them what the new rules and why it's coming into effect and why they will have to present this information. Because this information or whatever the escrow requests, it goes beyond than just your statement of information. We know the statement of information, that is a thing, everybody knows we fill that out. But there's more information given or requested from escrow on the seller side too. That exposes them to the federal government. That's exposing all your information to them. So that's the pushback that we're having right now. Some of the stories, I don't know exactly what the lawsuit or what brought it to a halt, but it is up for discussion. Some sellers are upset about it too, that are talking about it. They're like, why do we have to report if we have nothing to do with the buyer's money? Any questions about that?
Yes.
Yes, Ron.
So, our buyers say they're getting a hard money.
Yes.
So then, the hard money lenders have to show. Hard money lenders gonna have to show so funds or where it came from on behalf of the buyer, but that triggers the seller to report.
Yes, it also triggers
what
the
are they
seller
reporting?
that they don't have, that there's no money laundering happening. So banks, big accounts, that there's no history of that from the seller doing that with that specific buyer. So they're also being investigated just like the buyer is being investigated. So they ask for specific information. What I'm saying is that will trigger the seller from being investigated. Now, if you have a regular sale, obviously there's none of this. They don't do any reporting. But this is triggering the seller to also get investigated, which it would make some sellers uncomfortable because they're like, why do I have to give all my information to the government?
What about a situation like, say, down payment? So that cause that too?
No, because they're still financing. So what you're saying, a gift letter, right? Or
Yeah.
Gift? No. Only if it's cash. If the whole thing is cash and they're getting from different sources, then they have to get. So let's say you're lending the buyer money as a person, not as an agent. If you're giving them money, so now they're going to request your bank statement. Where did the money come from? So that's also going to expose a lot of these gift donors because before all you did was just give a gift letter and that was it. Now it's going to expose that donor to bring in bank statements and show proof of where that money came from. Not all of a sudden it was deposited from a different source. So now paper trail has become extremely advanced. Like they're really narrowing down where that money came from. But when it comes to a traditional sale, or a donor in a finance transaction, that loan is being insured by FDIC. Most loans is when it comes to hard money, that some hard money lenders are not. You have private investors that are financing that are not. That's when it becomes, that's when it's triggered. When it's not FDIC or insured.
Some credit unions may not. I see.
Some credit unions, for the most part, they are, because they are credit unions, they are FDIC approved or insured. But this has now, the halt has brought a lot of attention to consumers. And there is some sellers that are not aware. Remember, your clients are not aware of these changes. Some are savvy, but it's good for you to be informed of what's happening. So as of right now, as of the 19th, if it does come up with your clients, this is why it's been on pause because it's further investigations based on what changes and what also has triggered it based on other lawsuits. Yes, Sarah.
I'm just thinking, if she said something to the fact that, for example, a piece of land, it is purchased, and then later they want to do residential, it triggers.
Did she say, so Clara's asking if you buy a piece of land and then your purpose is to turn it into residential, is it triggered? What did escrow say about that? Because you don't know in the beginning, what if you buy it and then you don't do anything with it until 5 years down the line. However, that will trigger it.
But the buyer could mention it during escrow.
Oh, okay. If the buyer mentions it, then it will trigger it. But if it's also cash, it'll still trigger it. So anything cash, before cash was like easy, we got this, is a quick sale and everything, but now you have to disclose to the I think they're celebrating a first check. So now that part is the seller's not aware that they also have to make communication. So it's best to advise it. Any questions on Vincent or the process of that or where we at with that? So the goal for them is to also take this and incorporate it into your RPA. Right now it's a separate form, but maybe later once they figure out what they're going to do, it may be put into your RPA. So I will keep an eye on that. I will let you guys know about that, but keep an eye on that. Just like the electrical, I mentioned about the electrical inspections that is also included in your RPA. That one is also becoming a thing, which is this is also is becoming a topic of conversation because of all the changes that are happening with the appliances. More people are getting electrical cars. Where is it? Right here, letter E. Electrical system inspection advice disclosure. So for any transaction in which TDS is required, seller advises the buyer as follows. In the purchase of real property, it may be advisable to obtain an inspection by a qualified professional of electrical systems of any buildings, including but not limited to the main service panel, that right there. The sub-panel and wiring, substandard recall, or any faulty wiring may cause a risk of fire and make it difficult to obtain property insurance. Limited electrical capacity may make it difficult to support future electrical additions. Right there is already giving you the heads up. Just like movies, they put some stuff there to prepare you for the future. Same thing. Here is preparing you what's happening in the future. 2030, I believe, is when all appliances will be electrical. 2040, all cars will start being electrical. Can these houses support it? Don't know, especially older homes. So from now moving forward, explain these details. This is very vital for your clients because then let's say in 10 years they say, well, we're not that far from that mark. And also with electrical cars. People assume this house is going to be able to support it. It's literally letting us know future electrical additions, solar generators, electrical space heating, electrical water heating, or electrical vehicle charging equipment. This right here is what's happening a lot already, where some of these houses don't support it. It's another expense for your client. So that way you protect yourself. Like, hey, I did advise you to do an electrical inspection. Check that breaker box. Also, there's a lot of houses that are tweaked. The breaker boxes they're not in their condition that they're supposed to be. Maybe they put too many, what are they called? The little, sorry?
Breakers.
The breakers. That some they'll put, I saw one where they had two in one breaker, and they do like a whole concoction in there. That can also create a fire if it's not handled properly. A brand new system can cost anywhere between 20 to 50,000. So this, for example, is another advisory of what's coming. Of what's coming. Sure. So this, along with also the lovely changes. Any questions so far?
Is this only in LA? Or is it
This is
all
California.
California?
Yes.
This
is why another disclaimer about ChatGPT. Please do not ChatGPT your stuff because it's all right here. Go to CAR. CAR literally has a breakdown of all of this stuff and information if you want to know anything about it. Do that because ChatGPT is a general platform. They're going to tell you, and it's happened already, where some agents are like, oh, it's asking me for this form. Well, I cannot find this form. Guess what? It's not giving you California standard forms. ChatGPT is giving you a general description of what it is that you're asking it. Unless you tell it verbatim, car, forms in California, A, B, and C, then it'll probably give you some little better idea. But some agents, I'm getting a little bit, I'm getting a, then some of them are confused because I'm like, that form does not exist. Oh, but ChatGPT said, yeah, but ChatGPT is not a car. So be careful, be mindful. Also, when you do your property descriptions, even if you throw it 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in a nice area, and then it'll give you a whole nother finesse of it, but the house is not where it says it is. Be mindful of that. Don't be so quick to just copy and paste it. Read what it's telling you. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but just be very specific on what it's. Be mindful of what it's saying, that it will relate to your house. Don't be saying that it has scenic views if you're facing the desert. Like there's nothing there.
That's a scene.
Be mindful, but I know scenic views could be like mountains, streams, or whatever.
Flat.
Be very mindful with those things are. Yeah, just like the digital photos, everything is becoming a thing. It's like if we don't really follow it and pay attention, that it can cause a problem. For example, the digital imaging photos or staging, fine, staging is one thing. But there was a lawsuit because this photographer put fire on a fireplace to make it look more presentable in the photo. So the buyer saw that and said, "Well, then it looks like it works." In her mind, it worked. She didn't do an inspection. In her mind, I didn't have to do it because it showed in the picture that it worked. Guess what? Buyer moved in. It does not work. It was a faulty, actually, fireplace. So now it's a thing. And every time there's a change in our forms, it's like I think they said it was $20,000 to get the whole thing revised again and be presented. So right now, yeah, yeah, because you're saying that with that photo, so that's why you have to be very careful when you're staging, virtually staging. Right now with RMLS, you have to post the digital one or the virtually staged one and the one that is actually what it looks like. But we have agents that are not in our market center, thank God, but in other offices that they are they're enhancing the grass, they're putting stuff that's not there. Like you can enhance certain things to make it look more appealing, but now you're adding things that are not there. Like now you're adding an island that's not there, so that's different. You know what I mean? So, but with the fireplace, that became a huge lawsuit. So now, because someone sued, now everything is kind of because of everybody else. But ChatGPT, guys, I would really advise that it can actually get you in trouble because of the things that you're just copying and pasting that may not apply to what you're doing. And also advise your clients the same thing. Because I've had counters or the client will be like, I want to counter with this. And I'm like, okay, where did you get this verbiage? because it does not make sense to what we're doing. And they're like, oh, ChatGPT. I said, no, ChatGPT is not your agent. And I've had to explain this to the clients and say the verbiage that you're using, it can actually cause you to lose the property because they don't know the specifics and they're not negotiating for you. So in my buyer presentation, in my buyer's meeting, my buyer's consultation, I explained all that as well. Okay, now we are in ChatGPT trends, and this is how I would want to represent you. Please, like, refrain from trying to get information from there because ChatGPT is only going to give you a generalized version versus what California law is. Remember that we are California real estate salespersons, not, statewide. Nationwide. And that's the difference. So it can bring confusion with you as well, what type of forms to use and how to edit certain things. So be careful with ChatGPT. Any questions so far? Come on, you guys. Then you're knocking at my door. You have a question.
Like what?
Okay. Another thing, I'm reviewing today just things that are coming to our attention, things that have been a little bit confusion. Escrow's been getting pushed back about. So we're going to talk about the BRBC on how to properly disclose things, properly disclose it, but also what to put on there and why and why.
Because I'm doing one.
Do you have any questions right now before I chime into?
No, I'm doing one. This is going to be great information. And yes, I already did one, but I don't remember.
Girl. Now with this one, like, be very careful and not to get like click happy. Just get trigger happy because you can check yourself out of a contract. And I've explained that before on the cases that I've seen where the agent marked this box right here. She went crazy just clicking everything. And you see right here, property type, single family residential. Mm-hmm. She checked SFR excluded from this agreement. She marked this box and went showing. The buyer then found another agent that he was more comfortable working with, and he told the agent, this is the buyer BC that I signed with this agent, but in this contract she said she's not representing me and an SFR. What is an SFR? Single family residence. So residential. So then the agent said, oh, then that means I can represent you as an SFR because right there she's pretty much saying that she is representing him on everything but then she didn't check anything else. So clearly it was a mistake, but that mistake cost her a buyer. So when that case was presented to me, I looked at both BRBCs and the buyer was in the right to get into a contract because this one stated that he was not represented. See? So read carefully your contracts, especially in this day and age where every day there's something new. There's changes happening all the time.
So, single family resident or if check SFR
is excluded.
That's the key word, excluded. Okay.
Yeah, she checked herself out of this transaction, out of this contract with that buyer. So carefully read and also speak to your client. Find out what it is. Get them, what future brings. Because also you can either mark city or you can mark county. But counties, it can work in your favor because it can cover multiple areas. Because let's say you have city and you have Palmdale, Lancaster, but then the buyer woke up one day and the wife said, you know what, I want to go to Valencia or I want to go to Ventura. Well, this contract is only in those cities because what if this agent can only work in those cities? So then that buyer goes somewhere else. So depending on what's on here, whatever you do negotiated with that buyer, it's where it's what's going to be in effect. But I'm just trying to protect you that if your buyer is even contemplating Ventura County or Orange County to just list all the counties. There was a buyer that came to me and he said, "Oh, you seem like an." I met him at an open house and he said to me, "You know what? You are so informative. I would love to work with you." And I said, "Okay." And my first question was, "Do you have a BRBC?" And don't be lazy. I'm not saying you're lazy, but don't take that for granted. Don't say, "Oh, I'm just going to show property and then I'll get it signed later." Don't be lazy with that because they can literally take the buyer from you. They meet somebody, they click, it's over. Game over there. So you're here thinking that the buyer's going to be faithful to you. And in this industry, I have seen so many things in 20 years that you're thinking, "Oh, I thought we were good. I thought we connected." It feels like you're dating sometimes. And all of a sudden, they ghost you and they disappeared. And what happened? They ended up buying with somebody else that they clicked with at an open house. There's no rule that they cannot go to open houses. But if they come across somebody that was able to make them feel some kind of way, and they were like, "You know what, I would like to work with you. I don't I The other agent took me out, but I haven't signed anything." That was the first thing they would say. "I haven't signed anything." They're so quick to say that. "I haven't signed anything." So in your buyer's consultation, that should be the first thing, so that way you can have that commitment with that buyer, and you're not wasting time. We are self-employed here. Commission base is very hard for you to put all this work invested in your buyer, and then your buyer just takes off with someone else because you failed to do your BRBC. Now, with your buyer consultation, ask questions. Would you ever think of buying somewhere else? What are your goals? And they'll tell you, "Oh, I have family in Ventura." Put Ventura County. "Oh, I have family in San Diego." Just put it. So this buyer, he was covered in LA County, and I asked him, "You have a BRBC?" He goes, "Yeah, but it's only LA County." So he thought, because that's where he was looking at houses. So I asked him, I said, "Okay, if you have a BRBC, let me see it." And he did. He showed it to me, and that agent put all the counties in California. And I said, "Sir, you're covered in every single county in California." And he's like, "God damn." He's like, "I didn't know that. I just thought it was LA." Because, of course, this is our industry, not theirs. They don't know a lot. They don't. Some are mindful, so don't quote me on that. But some clients are mindful, some are not. And in this case, he didn't know. And I said, "No, sir. If you read this part, what you signed."
So are
Now,
we against just adding a ton of
I
different
mean,
counties?
talk to your client and find out. You can, but I'm just explaining what that agent did, and he just covered himself for those 3 months.
He was securing
Because
referral.
yeah, because if they talked about it, I mean, the buyer's like, "Oh yeah, I did mention." Because I asked him, I go, "Did you ever mention to him about OC?" And he goes, "Yeah, I told him I had a family there." So as long as he knew that those were there, but again, sometimes buyers probably would tell you, "No, I didn't see it. You signed it though, so you did see it."
So don't
Yeah.
Now with
discount.
electronic signatures, it hasn't become a thing yet, but there's current cases against it where the buyers, or the client rather, is saying, "I didn't see it, I didn't sign it." And I'm like, "Well, you did." And it's already come to my attention too, where the client said, "I didn't sign it." I said, "No, yes, you did." But then they'll say, "Oh, it happened so fast that I didn't see what I was signing." So to protect yourself for best practices, then email them immediately after they sign it, or before, preferably before. If you have an RPA, send the RPA first. Email it to them blank first and say, "This is what you're going to be signing. These are the terms and conditions. Let me know if you have any questions." Give them about an hour or a grace period of however you want to address that, or even after. But at least they have a copy first before you send it electronically. That way they can say, "I didn't review it, I didn't see it. It happened so fast," which I get it. DocuSign, especially on your phone, you just click away and that's it. Then you don't really have a chance to really look at it. Everybody's on the move, so they're like, "Okay, I signed it, go ahead." And then later they're like, "Oh wait, I didn't know that that's what you said or that's what you meant on the contract."
But there is a button at the top that says review.
And you know how many people miss that?
No, I know. I know.
Yes,
But
and
I
then
mean,
send it to them, or they even get a copy of it after it's signed.
and they can say, okay, because I explained it.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm going to send it to you for DocuSign, but please review it first. Let me know if you have any questions. Then you go back and sign.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, since there is, if that is the case, There you go. You could have a statement that says, I have asked him to review it before.
So what I do is I send them the contract, and then in the email I say, please review. These are the terms. Let me know if you have any questions. I will be sending the electronic version shortly.
And as a matter of fact, before you do the signature, you have a space for a message. You can
Yeah, that too. But the problem here is that in their defense is that when they sign it, the system just goes to where the spots are.
Right.
So they don't have time to review the whole page of what they're initialing.
Yeah.
That's the argument. So in this case, they don't slow it down. They just go ding, 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 and then we go. So for best practices, I would say send it out first before they sign. The other thing was that I'm sure this was already addressed. I'm just reiterating, refresher on the BRBC, that the days of contract have changed from months, it was 3 months, to days. Because some months have 31 days, some months are shorter, some months are 29 days. So we cannot generalize the days, the months. So now it's 90 days. So that's another one that we needed to address. Now,
I'm sorry, I missed that, Wendy? 90 days of.
It's 90-day contract.
Okay.
So they changed the BRBC from it being 3 months to 90 days.
Okay.
So now they specify on the days.
That's not including weekends, right? It's
days.
Just days.
Days. So
weekends.
It's not. It is weekends.
Wendy, so we always have to put 90 days?
No. Aquí está. Yes, it's already like right here. You put the beginning and the end date. The difference is that now we're counting days versus months. Because back then you could have been January, February, March. You're 3 months. But January is 31 days, and February is 28 days, and March is 31 days. Right. So now instead they changed it, so we count the contract date as days, kind of days now.
That's why we put the 90.
Then you make it a 90-day contract.
That's why when it says beginning.
So you put beginning, so it would be today, and then you would count 90 days from, not months. Maybe I can finish that short.
I have a question. Tennessee and Common, that condo? Says commercial, vacant land.
No, what that is it's two things actually. It could be two things. So if I would just specify, you're following the specified property, that's its own. You have multi-residential with 2 or 4 units, so that could be a condo. Oh no, that's a duplex. That's industrial, vacant, and commercial, or Tennessee common. Yes. Now, be careful with those. Also, there's also other occupancies that are called co-ops, and those it's kind of like a timeshare. It's multiple shareholders that are in it with this unit. Because there's some that are like, oh, I can get this for 150,000, but the condos around are worth 400. That's because you're not owning yours; you're just a shareholders on those.
Okay.
So be careful when you see those.
Okay. Yeah.
Another thing in the BRBCs is if you have what is it? Here, letter E4 is your RAD. Any referrals? The referral agreements have changed, and the new revision is for 12/25. So December 2025 is the new one. On all referrals, and in your BRBC, it's also attached. So you have your buyer broker is paying referral fee, and it's also in your new listing agreement. There's a box for that if you're receiving a referral for that client. Your RAD form looks like this. Your RAD form, I am implementing them on all transactions. Who you're representing is the one who signs it. So If you're representing the seller, only the seller signs it. We don't need the other side because this is a representation and a disclosure from you and your principal, who you're representing. Why? Is because item number one is letting them know that you are a realtor because you're part of the California Association of Realtors. It also explains that you are part of GABAR, which is your home board of realtors. Let them know that that's your local association. Item number two lets them know that they can reach out to your agent and your broker, which is something that most people don't know. The consumer doesn't know that they can reach out to your broker. They don't even know what a broker is sometimes. So they just know that you are the face of that transaction and that's it. However, here is explaining to them that they are more than able to reach out to their agent or their agent's broker, and also they can reach out to the local association if they need to. Those things are most common things that they don't know that they have access to. Now, with the settlement, with the NAR settlement, they want us to be as transparent as possible. And that is why now these two items are vital. And I trust me when I say that I can get those up. They know that they can reach the broker, and they are. Now, item number three has three different sources that are three different things. If they apply, make sure you cover them. Number one, or letter A, is saying if you are receiving compensation from multiple sources. If it's not already disclosed though, so if you have it in the RPA that you're getting, or counters, that you're getting compensation from the seller and the buyer, then it's covered. Otherwise, if it's missed, then you would mark this box and disclose it that you're getting compensation from the seller and the buyer. Letter B states that you're representing only if you have any potential interest in the property, meaning you are part of the LLC of that seller, or you're in that entity, or you're in that trust, or you have a connection with your immediate family who's going to give you money from the proceeds. So if you have any interest in the proceeds, then you have interest in the property. That's where letter B comes in. C is referrals. This RAD is automatically attached to all referral agreements. And we must disclose where and who, what is the interaction that's going to take place. So if you mark letter C for your referrals, you would mark this box, and then you state which one are you applying. Are you receiving compensation for that buyer? So it says my broker is being paid by, I don't know, 123 Realty. Or are you giving a compensation? So you would mark paying compensation, my broker is paying compensation to Remax, for example. So you've got to state one or two, which of the two boxes apply, and also what the compensation is. If you're getting or receiving 20% referral fee, then you would put 20% referral fee here. Moving on, you do fill out this box down here. In this box is where your broker's information is going to be. You fill out your portion, your contact information, and then it says right here, broker, office manager, supervisor, contact person. Most likely that's where my information goes in. You put in Wendy, and my email of where I can be reached. And then you give them this copy. They sign it, and you give them a copy of it. Because later along the line, they should be able to have access to me. Any questions on the RAD? All transactions, and the reasons why is because I know some agents are like, well, why do we need it? Because just by 1 and 2 is a disclosure. We're disclosing that you are part of California Association of Realtors, you are part of GABAR, and because they need to have your broker's information. So for the number, just for 1 and 2. Now 3 is given. It goes to apply, of course, it's a must. But the difference right now, this is attached to the referral agreement by default. You pull the referral agreement, it's already incorporated in the new one. I'll show you what that looks like. Right here. Let me see. So this referral agreement is from, if you notice, this is 1225. Revised 1225. So all your contracts, all the new ones, including your ETA, that one's a different one. That is not the same. Addendums, adding addendums. All of those will tell you at the top right here when it was revised. So that will let you know what is the newest one. Because some are outdated, especially like if you have them in your templates, those could be different formats, and they will have even the verbiage is different. So this one is the most recent one, and if you notice, the referral agreement is attached to your DRAD. So when I get them for signatures, the system lets me know, okay, it doesn't have it. And so because it's connected, be sure to fill both of them out, because I would have to sign both for you.
They're the same format?
They come together. Yeah. So see, aquí dice 2 of 2, 2 of 2, and 2 of 1. One of 2. So it already put them together by default.
Find a question. Or I find a question.
Okay. You send your referral
I
agreement?
sent that one to her.
Hmm? How long
And
ago?
she sent me some back. But since they are in the position, you know, they what would you do?
Well, that has nothing to do with your referral agreement. But did you send her the new one?
That's the new one. That's the one.
Okay. Did you fill this one out too?
That
Okay. Because they should come together. But check the agreement that you sent and make sure that it is the newest date.
that one the other agent getting a sent back to bank shows the information and
Okay. Does yours show your broker information? Because this you completed this one, right?
yeah.
Okay. She just probably sending you her state one because we have our state one. But I guess maybe for her compliance purposes, maybe they want one also in the records that they're receiving, and then here's that you're referring. But as long as you have this, then just have this one. And it's because in case we get audited, everything here is in case. So I try my best to keep it, not only you confident in what we're doing, but also having our files on point. But yes, check your referral agreement, that you have the most updated one, and now the most updated one should be the 1225, and it should be correct.
So what will be the step after that they find the house and
Well, when you're doing a referral, you just send the referral agreement and you let them handle it. You don't get involved. Because you don't have a fiduciary duty now with them. You're just referring it to that other broker. So that broker is the one who handles it and takes over from that. All you do is you just wait and you wait. So you don't even say anything, you don't even talk to those lenders, you don't get involved that way because you don't have an agency with the buyer, you have a broker now, it's broker to broker. Remember, all listings and all referrals are broker to broker. So technically, you don't have an agency with it. No, you don't have an agency with that buyer.
no, right? But the agent, like get sure.
She can give you updates,
Yeah.
but your involvement in the transaction is not, there's no involvement. Yeah, no, you just wait and get paid.
Oh,
That's the beauty of referral.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna just address one more thing as far from the BRBC that is becoming a confusion on how to handle this. And the reasons why, I just want to shine some light as to why it's becoming you get pushback from escrow. So your contracts now, oof, this is a bad word. Why is this here? Let me change it. Let me change it real quick. Okay, no, we're California. Okay. With this is your contract. Just like you have a listing agreement, your listing agreement is your contract with your seller. Now, your contract, this is your contract with your buyer. That's why if you don't initiate this from the beginning, you have no contract with nobody, right?
You're working for free.
And you're working for free, literally. So this is your contract with your buyer, and what you state in this contract, just like the listing agreement, whatever those contracts say, goes. Okay? You with me so far? Now, when you say, okay, I'm going to do 3% of the acquisition price. Now, bad words are saying in your contracts commissions. We cannot say commissions. You cannot say commissions in MLS. Agents still forget. I'm still going to refresher you guys. You cannot say seller will give any compensation, any commission or any credits to the agent. That verbiage right there, you cannot say it. It just happened, and she said that I cannot say her name, but she just gave me the green light to let you guys know that even by saying what I'm about to say, it cost her a $2,500 fine. It is that serious. So please be careful when you say that. She put on the agent remarks, seller will give agent a credit bonus for for a full price offer or something like that. The point here was that she said seller will give a bonus to agent. You cannot say that at all. You cannot be topic of conversation. You cannot say any credits to the agent at all.
So that's like saying the seller's gonna kick back like $500 if you give me a full price. Okay. So that would be compensation, $500, or
even if they had said compensation, you cannot say that. We do not talk about commissions at all in the MLS. It's all contract to contract driven. You can't even say it like texting. Like I cannot text Claire and say, "Hey, is your seller paying commission?" I can't even say that. Or how much is your seller willing to pay? We can't even say that. And if she wanted to, she can report me for even asking.
What about when you're negotiating with the
You
buyer?
negotiate in your RPA. You negotiate in writing. So just like you put in your offer, seller to credit or seller to give 3% to buyer's representation, just like it says on your RPA, right?
Yeah.
Any negotiations have to be in writing and in your contracts.
Okay.
Not verbal.
For example, when I'm doing my back and forth scripts here at 9:30, they rehearsed one where it was a fake phone call where he's like, because they advise us, just talk to the agent before you put it in paperwork, because you guys can save some time. I just quickly be like, hey, listen, my buyer's not willing to, this and that, or the seller, but
I'll talk to scripts, but we cannot say that.
Oh.
Because that's a conflict. Because if you're talking, they're telling you to say it to the agent.
It was the guys. I was observing.
To the agent.
It was agent to agent.
Yeah. So that conversation, that's the whole point of the settlement. There's the settlement and then there's laws. So the settlement has different verbiage. So agent to agent, because now there's no transparency, and now you're not going to show that house because the seller's not willing to pay. That defeats the whole purpose of all of this. So because of that, and I'll talk to scripts about that we can't, and that agent can report you. And it's been a thing. Like there's cases about that discuss that. If you guys are, I don't know if they're still taking members, but on this Thursday, the person who sits at the car board, she's our contracts person who represents the car. She's having a class on Thursday at the board. I would advise you guys to go and ask her all these questions. But she'll be the first one to tell you. I can't even text it to her and ask, hey, is your seller paying compensation? Because now you can seen as discrimination because you're not paying? Cool, I'm gonna go and see this other house. So now it defeats the whole purpose as to why we're even having this whole compensation thing. Because initially your contract is with your buyer. You're only asking, so you negotiate that with your buyer. And then you say, okay, let's ask the seller in the RPA if they're willing to help you with your fees initially. But agent to agent, if you guys do that, I cannot control what your conversations are like. However, If you bump heads with the wrong person because you're talking about compensation, especially agents that are savvy and that know the laws, you can get dinged. That's just for your protection. But some agents are, they may be cool with each other and they'll be like, hey man, are you paying compensation or what is it? But a very, simple conversation like that can also get you in trouble. So be mindful of those things. Everything just renegotiate in writing. I don't even talk about compensation to anybody. Everything that I address it in writing.
Haven't had that push yet, but anyway, no, I'm just kidding. On the amount of compensation. Okay, so if I'm doing a new build, right, and their percentage is 2%, right? So I will put 2% in the or, right? But if they are not going to buy a new build and they want to buy a previous build, so
What do you mean a previous build? You mean resale?
a resale,
Okay.
right? So what do you put there? So the compensation for a new build is 2%, correct?
So new builds, that's a completely different ballgame because they have their own terms and they have their own way. Some new builds will pay and some won't. So whatever you negotiate.
So what I put on here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So on here it says if I'm going to represent them on period, and if we go to a new build, so do I put both 3% because of the resale, or 2%? So do I put both, or do I just put one?
Well, so they're going to give you 2%. Now you're 1% off, right?
Okay, that's for the new bill, correct? But what if they decide, well, we still want you, because they still want me to represent them, right? But just in case the new bill don't work out. So is it two different?
No, your compensation is your compensation with them. So if you represent them on a resale, right?
Right.
So they don't go. So the new builds we address that. So now you're going into a resale, which is a standard sale.
Right, but there's only one.
Yes.
CRCB,
because
right?
this is what you're charging them.
Right.
This is your contract with them.
So that's what I'm asking. So I'm charging them 3% on the rebuild, or I'll put 2% for in the or spot.
So if you're going to charge them 2% for what?
The rebuild.
Okay.
I mean,
no, you're confusing me with your verbiage.
2%
resale.
New build. So do I put that, because when the way that she explained it when I fill it out is on the or to put 2%. So now that the clients are not for sure if they can afford the new bill, but they still want me to represent them, do I put both?
Well, you can do 3% here or
That's
whatever here, and then you can put here other terms. Down here.
Okay.
You can add, I just use this as an example, but this is one of the things that is been an issue is what do you do with the 199 or just the compensation fee for Keller Williams? You would put it under here other terms, not up here, because there's no room to specify what it is up here. So that there's no confusion, you would put it down here. What you're stating, just disclose it down there. New builds, 2% or whatever the case may be. Then up here is 3% for your acquisition price.
Right. But the way she told me is that she texted me and she said I had to put, because remember I just did a new bill. So she told me, okay, and I put 3%, and I didn't put nothing else. I don't think they caught it, So she texted me, said, make sure you fill it out, or 2%.
So you can do here, see attached broker created compensation schedule. There you can specify what it is that you're doing.
Okay.
As long as you have it in writing. So you can have it here or you can put it down here and say whatever the percentage was.
I have to show you the way she told me to fill it out.
Because this is the new construction?
The new construction.
Okay.
Okay, so she tells me one way, And
Now, new construction, they are a little bit delayed on what our rules are. New construction are completely different contracts. You don't use your RPA. You do not submit an RPA with them. You just bring in the client, and it's technically a referral.
okay.
So with them, the negotiations are completely different.
So I shouldn't be doing this for them.
You just walk them in and sign a referral directly with the builder.
Well, I think what she's saying is this BRBC, if they're gonna try to buy the new construction.
Correct.
You don't have to take the BRBC.
They ask for it.
Oh, they are.
They are asking for
They
it?
ask for
Who's the builder?
KB.
Oh, that's different, because with new builders, this is you representing them. You're not representing them. The builder is. You're literally just a referral.
So
I'll call KB Homes and find out.
If you have your own clients that you bring in to KB, right? They want you to already have a contract with those clients. That's how they
secure that. That's different.
Yeah.
Because DR Horn doesn't do that, and what's the other one? There's like 3 other builders that they don't. All they want is just because there's no representation. You have no say in that transaction. You're just a referral agent. They have their own contract that you just walk in the buyer, you sign them in, and they take it from there. All they give you is just your referral agreement. But again, there's so many changes with our contracts that the new homes do not. It doesn't apply to new homes.
Okay.
But can you send me who your contact is for for KB Homes?
Okay.
And then I'll find out what is that they're seeking and how they want it, because the buyer representation is that you're representing them, and then all the details that are in here that's stating that you're helping them with the purchase of the property. You have an agency with them. New home, you don't have an agency with them.
Right. But I'm just basically telling you what she told me, so I don't know. I guess because she told me, she says, well, I need you to send over your.
But in the regular sales that we do, we don't have to give the listing agent a copy of our BRBC.
You only give it to escrow.
To KB?
Yeah. So that's another thing that we don't, this is your agreement with your client, just like the listing agent doesn't give you a copy of the listing agreement. However, escrow does ask for it. So before Ron leaves, let me address this real quick, because this is important, and I really want you guys to address this part. If you guys check this box, buyer does not have sufficient funds to pay broker. You check that box. You're telling the seller, my buyer does not have money, right? So your contract says 3%. Your RPA, in your purchase agreement, you're saying that you want 3%. The seller then counterbacks to you to 2.5%. Let's just begin 2%. So now the seller says, no, I'm going to give you 2%. What do you think happens to that 1%?
You eat it?
It's gone. Unless you have to modify. That's where your modification, there's an act for that. There's a form for that. If you tell your buyer and you say, hey, if you send this to escrow, escrow's automatically going to think your buyer doesn't have money. So if you get pushback from escrow and they give you a modification of terms, it's for this reason. Because on this contract, you're saying that they do not have the money. So we're asking the seller to pay it. But the seller countered you back and said, no, I'm only going to give you 2%, so that 1% is lost. So if you're trying to acquire that 1%, then you need to modify it with your modification of terms. Yes, that the buyer is willing to pay for that 1%. If you don't mark this box, then escrow will assume, okay, so that any additional compensation, the buyer will take care of it, because we're not saying that the buyer's not paying for it. We're not saying that the buyer can't pay. I'm sorry. So let me do them.
So when the buyer agrees to pay the other percent, that's when you do the modification.
No, here, if you leave it like this, if you leave it, where is it? Yeah, it's right. If you leave this blank, escrow will just reconfirm with you. Okay, Ms. Agent, your contract says 2%. your buyer's paying the one, and this is part of your buyer consultation. Is that okay, Mr. Buyer? These are my fees. I'm charging 3% for compensation, but in the initial of your offer, we can request the seller to pay for your representation. Now, in the event that the seller does not pay for that, cannot cover your full 3%, then you will be responsible for the remainder. That's the kind of conversation you should have in your buyer consultation.
Then at that point, you don't need them.
No, escrow is only going to reconfirm, or some of them just assume. And in your commission instructions, they'll say what your compensation is, and then at the bottom they'll say buyer will pay the 1%. But if you mark this box that the buyer does not have insufficient funds, then escrow is going to give you pushback. Escrow is going to say, okay, then if your buyer can pay the 1% that's left, or whatever that is, then they're going to ask you for this. You modify these terms, stating that the buyer is going to be able to pay for that difference. But these are conversations that you have in your initial meeting with your buyer consultation.
So it's like saying very more clearly pays.
Yes. Because if you don't say who's who, yeah, it's disclosure. So some agents are like, no, they can pay the difference. Why do I need this? Well, because in your PRBC you said they cannot pay it. Some agents do that thinking that they could be like at the mercy. And mind you, that PRBC, you're not showing it to the other agent. So it doesn't matter. Like some agents do that thinking they could be at the mercy of the seller. They're like, no, they can't. So, but you're not showing it to them. That's just between you and that buyer, and the only other person who sees it is escrow, just to confirm that you're not getting paid above it.
So why would you advise?
Well, if you click that, that's a conversation that you have with your buyer. Do you have the sufficient funds to cover the remainder? If the seller cannot pay for your full representation.
So you have a position for you.
Yes. Yes. Because if your buyer says no, well, how much is it going to be? Okay, well, for X amount of house, the compensation is going to be X, and your remainder is going to be $1,500 extra. Can you pay the remainder? These are conversations that you have in the initial consultation to prepare your client. Because once you're in a house and they say no, I can't pay it. So then, you're not going to no money. What is it? Some money is better than no money, so you're not going to drop the ball for, a 0.5% or 1%. Granted, it is money, but because you didn't have this initial conversation with the buyer to let them know. So if he says no, I can't.
Then you go to the buyer.
I'm sorry.
The seller.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the seller says, well, I can only give you 2, but you didn't address it with the buyer and prepared the buyer, hey, in the event that they cannot pay the full representation, then you're responsible for the remainder. If he says, no, I can't pay it, then yes, it is, then you would state on your BRC, know that they cannot pay compensation. That way, escrow knows, okay, whatever the RPA says, that's what I'm going to get paid, because my buyer cannot pay it. Because agents are getting upset where they're like, wait, there's still 1% in the air, the buyer can do it. Well, you didn't disclose that. And if you mark that they couldn't, escrow is not escrow's fault. That they assume, based on your BRBC, that they can't pay it. Right. So but some escrows are very good at bringing it to your attention and saying, okay, wait a minute, just to let you know, this is what your BRBC says, this is what your RPA says. Are you cool with that? So, but if not, then you can modify it. But you modify it, we do not use addendums. We use modification of terms.
Question on referral for like TV home. Are we pulling referrals to the bar, or we do that with them?
That's what I'm going to find out, because so far I haven't had any issues with new construction. New construction, you literally just sign them in into their platform. You walk them in. Of course, that's what they want from you, is just that you initially walk them in. You initially sign them in, and that's it. They take it from there. They take your information and they just send you a referral. It has been like that forever. But there's never been a thing with them having the BRBC because this is also for resale, and this is when you are representing the buyer. In a referral, you're not.
Yeah, they take those.
And referral, you're pretty much, exactly. That's why I'm kind of confused that they're asking her for the BRBC when the BRBC does not apply. And with new construction, they tell you what you're gonna get. There's no negotiating it. They'll tell you that the builder will pay X amount of money. So that's a whole nother different ballgame, and that's new that they're asking for that because it's literally you just literally referring.
Is there such thing?
But referral, you have to be there to sign in, correct? So you gotta take them in there, you have to sign them in,
Right.
right?
But that's the initial thing that they request is you signing them in.
Right, so I think that's, well, for me, the way I took it, verification that they were my client
Yeah.
prior.
By the BRBC?
Yeah, like verification.
Because she didn't take them the first time. She just went
I
over.
met them there, like, when I did my open house. In my open house, they followed my signs, and then they became clients.
Okay.
And then you
Oh.
took them to the office,
And then I took,
and you signed.
Yeah, but you signed them in.
With them there.
Yeah, so that's right there that initiates the referral.
That should be.
and I'll ask, when we finish here, I'll call her, because I wanna know, again, maybe you're right, maybe.
Let's do like a meeting after class, and so that I can find out what it is that they're requesting and why. Because the BRBC is when you're representing and you're also doing your due diligence, your fiduciary duty is to negotiate contracts, like it goes on. If you guys read your BRBC, you're representing them in the full capacity. As a referral, you're not. Yes. Well, Ron, hold on a second. Ron,
Is there such a thing like where you go, say you meet up with first, you set up a deal with them, like, hey, I'm gonna start funding. That's my video, blah, blah, blah. But we already have an established referral, so that way I can call like, hey, it's Ron, touch you.
no, they want you to walk them in.
Alright.
Yeah, no. No. And that's for all my new agents. No, when it comes to new builds, they want you to physically walk them in and sign them in.
Okay.
You can't just call them and be like, hey, holla at your boy.
Yeah, shoot me my money.
No, also too is because you have different, they have different agents that are in the community.
Yeah.
So you might be cool with one and then it gets miscommunicated and so on. So no, they want you to literally sign them in. And then you also deliver your information. But I'll find out more about that on how they want us to work with the yeah. Thank you, Ron. Yes.
Right.
I was just wondering, so when she did the open house and they wanted to see the bill, right? And she took them over there and signed them in, that's right?
Yeah.
But now the owners, her client is saying, we don't know if we afford the new. So now, if they do a house that's already there. So is that another contract that because it's not?
She can have them, she can establish a contract with them through the BRBC and walk them in as a referral to the new build.
Okay.
But you don't need two different things. Again, because as a new build, that contract is completely different. I think there's a confusion. You don't need two different ones because you're referring. And they give you that referral, like, paperwork.
Sounds like they're making their own.
They are making their own rules. But in this case, no, they don't need the BRBC because she's not doing extra things. She's just referring them.
Okay, it's my time.
Yeah. And it's been like that for, so far, I haven't had any issues with any of the new builds. They do send me the contracts, I sign them in for the agent who brought them in. They still ask for the broker's signature. So I've signed them and there's no issue. And the BRBC is nowhere in there. You just, they out of courtesy, they give you their version of their contract and that's it. But I'll see what it is that KB is doing. Because every builder is different. They have their own thing, so.
I wonder if you're afraid that the buyer may pay her separately,
Aside.
and they want to laws, they want to make sure that she's not
above it. That could be, usually that's a company, that's a, yeah, so. All right, any questions? So we covered a lot today, I kind of refreshed a lot of things, just keep an eye out for those things. Any questions on Zoom? No questions? All right, guys, thank you for coming, and I will see you guys next Wednesday.
Thank you, and
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.